Entrepreneurs on born that brew. You are now listening to the Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney. Let's grow.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Adam McChesney, and I want to thank you for being here today. We are live from Half Coast Studios here in St. Louis. Thank you to Half Coast for this amazing setup and sponsoring the show. If you are looking to start your podcast or take your current one to the next level, then you need to check these guys out. Contact them today for a free consultation. If you're listening, as always, please be sure to subscribe to the show and leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. We would love for you to share this on social media by tagging me. In this way, we can get this incredible content out to more people. Today's episode is going to be a great one. I'm super excited for it. I have known this guest for almost a year now, and it's been quite a ride. He's an incredible businessman and, more importantly, a great husband, father, mentor, business partner, friend, you name it. Not to mention, I'm a franchisee of his. I've personally learned a ton from this guest and looking forward to having him on today to share his entrepreneur journey. Today's guest is JC Hite of Hite Digital. JC, welcome to the show.
Man, Adam, brother, it's a pleasure. I'm honored to be on here. Excited to chat with you. Excited for everything you got going on, bro. You're crushing it. It's exciting.
Yeah, no, I absolutely appreciate you taking the time. I know you're extremely busy, and this is an episode I've been super excited for us to hash out and obviously talk about your entrepreneurial journey, because I feel like every time I talk to you about your upbringing from the time, obviously, when you were younger all the way to where you're at now, there's always like another layer that we peel back, and it's always awesome. So, kind of starting out in terms of the entrepreneur journey with the history of, who you are, where you come from, and what you do. If you can kind of brief people on that, we'll kick it off.
Yeah, bro. So I'll fast forward through this as fast as I can. I grew up with a single mom, 2 boys, basically a trailer park in southern Arkansas, actually, right? And it was crazy. Drugs, sex, you name it. It was all around our house, and it was pretty crazy. 15, I basically went away and started to live full-time with my dad, who had a beautiful house, beautiful wife, had 3 kids, church every Sunday. I don't think I've ever seen my dad drink in my life, like just complete opposite. And he was an entrepreneur. He worked at a company full time, but he also had the side gigs. And that was my 2 big intros, like super early in my childhood. Number one is like understanding the difference between these 2 lifestyles of like heavy, crazy, far left, no stability in life. And then the opposite side of completely different value set, but also entrepreneurship and how that all tied in. By the time I was 24, I had about 45 houses in total. This was before REI was really sexy. This is way back in the day. I had mine were in Indiana, Arkansas, and in Tennessee. And during the time building that up, I was working in investment banking. I worked for Regions Bank and then Fifth Third Bank for about 8 years. And ended up quitting the banking world and going full-time into real estate, which was a fun journey. 6 months after I quit, I lost everything. So I went from 45 houses and I was making money and spending it just as quick, had crazy amounts of debt, and boom, lost it all. I had like basically a factory went under in the city that I had a lot of houses in, and wow, it hit me hard. And spent about 1.5 years slowly losing every single house in my portfolio. Fast forward, decided to completely switch it up. I don't know if you've ever done something that you have no business doing, but got into tech ed, built a company, sold the technology to IBM, and then came into marketing, which is where we met. And I've been doing the marketing thing now for about 6 years, 7 years, give or take, and just really fell in love with the opportunity that marketing gives other businesses and even ourselves, right? Ourselves as entrepreneurs, like, bro, I don't think there's any business where you can make so much money so quick without all the prerequisites, right? You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have experience necessarily. And at the same time, we can really serve entrepreneurs. And so journey, man, from crazy childhood to huge success at 23, to losing it all, to tech company, what the freaking junk is that? And then on into marketing. And that's where we're at today, bro. Trying to dominate the world, you and me, actually.
No, I love it. And, obviously when we first started talking, I didn't really know about the all that success early on and the real estate side of things. And then you have it all, and then you spend it all, and then you don't have anything because it goes under. And I think that obviously has transitioned into, the way that you are today, obviously helping form decisions that you make, helping to form, your personality and things like that. But I really want to kind of talk a little bit right here, obviously, about, your mission and your commitment, because I think that's so important about everything that we do. And obviously I have, made my commitment as well. But I love yours and I love what you're doing. And so kind of give people, the 1,000-foot view of your commitment and what that means to obviously Hite and, obviously the country of Nicaragua as well.
Yeah. So for me, like what you're saying, dude, I think commitment is everything. Business sucks. Like entrepreneurship sucks. Hiring people sucks. I mean, all of this. Life sucks in so many ways. And finding something that you can attach yourself to that's bigger than who you are, that's bigger than us, bigger than our company, that is worth fighting for. It's got to be something like noble. It can't just be, for me personally, it can't just be making money. It's got to be some type of higher purpose. And my wife and I, our commitment is we literally believe we can change a nation. So we live in a country where there's a lot of poverty. The average education is about 4th grade. There's a lot of, even though it's a very safe country, it's just a very left behind country. We have a very chaotic political system, which I won't go into, but it's just crazy. Look up Nicaragua if you want to learn anything about it. And what we found ourselves is that we believed that we actually could do 2 things. We believed we could have a company and scale and grow and do something really big and make a lot of money for those people that really love the business side. But at the flip side, we felt that we could create incredibly stable jobs, that we could teach incredibly smart people even more stuff, that we can make Nicaragua not something where you outsource the stupid crap, but actually went to for their knowledge. That actually was like, my dream is, and for those of you that don't know, Nicaragua is like 2.5 hours from Miami. Like we're so close, it's not even funny. Like I'm probably closer to Miami than, you're in St. Louis, Adam, than you are. Like we're so close. Like my dream is for Nicaragua to become the digital services capital of the world, right? And that's what we're focused on. And probably one of my most proud moments, and Adam, you were a part of this, is that even through COVID, we did not fire one person. We didn't cut one salary. In fact, since March of 2020 or whatever it was, in that 2-year period, we've actually created, I think, about 110 jobs in total, right? And so for me, that's really exciting. And for me, that's also what drives me, right? The chaos of the business and trying to manage money and finances and all this stuff. Bro, like we believe we can literally change a nation, and that's what we're fighting for.
No, I absolutely love it. And there's people that obviously talk about a commitment or, they deem one, but then they don't actually live it. And it's just really cool to see not only how you obviously live it out, but everyone that is around you knows that that's your mission and supports you in any given way to be able to obviously fulfill that, which is absolutely incredible. And I'm excited to be, a small piece of that. As far as what the ingredients go of where you have been successful and what that looks like, what are 3 main things that you would contribute some of your success to, and explain on that a little bit further?
Well, you just mentioned one thing that kind of ties into the first ingredient that I think is huge in terms of how we've been able to grow. And I think we're going to be on the top 600 fastest growing companies in the US with no investment whatsoever, and kind of based out of the 3rd world, even though we're a US company. And so you mentioned something just there, right? A lot of people have a goal or have a commitment or have a whatever, but it's kind of like their own. They keep it to themselves. I'm very loud about my commitment. Like if you have ever listened to a podcast I'm on or a show or anywhere or been hired or whatever to do with, like, I'm very loud. Like this is who I am. And if you're going to be around me, be a part of me, be employed by me, you at least have to respect that commitment, right? And I think so many of us, we have these great goals. Like I was talking to an entrepreneur the other day, it was like, man, I'm just really passionate about orphans, kids that don't have parents. And so, which is funny, I've known this guy for like 10 years and I've never heard this. And I'm like, bro, like how could anybody get inspired by you or help you or curate something if they don't know what you're truly passionate about. So I think as leaders, we got to be loud about it. The first ingredient for me, and sounds very facetious, but we are incredibly big on going out and hiring the best talent we can. At Hite, a lot of times, and this means sacrificing even myself, right? I'm not the highest paid person at Hite on an annualized basis. I am not the highest paid person at Hite. We actually have people at Hite that are more valuable than me, or at least it costs me more money to get them in than my own self, right? And so the biggest thing for us is bringing on the best team we possibly can. And I think sometimes we lose sight of the value that a great person can actually bring. I'll give you guys an example. In our industry, like Adam and myself, we sell marketing services, and we'll sell marketing services for $2,000, $2,500. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we kind of get into that, we kind of like cheap labor. We like guys to make money, but we also like to save money, right? And so the difference, guys, between any employee, account manager or a sales guy, you can do this with anyone. The difference between a quote unquote cheap employee in, the Philippines or Nicaragua, let's say they're $1,500, and someone like actually decent right there in St. Louis that makes $7,000 a month or $100,000. The difference there, the real difference there is only 4 clients, only 3 clients, only like whatever your ARPA is divided by your client count. So like really understanding the difference there is fairly irrelevant compared to how amazing of a human being that you can find. I'm in Nicaragua not because of cheap labor, because I love Nicaragua, right? And this is where my family is. This is where my team is, not because I'm trying to find a cheap outsource, right? And so the number one thing for me that I think Hite has always done well was it wasn't about timing. It wasn't necessarily about salary. Sometimes we couldn't afford them. We wanted to find the best people possible. And if that meant hire them early, we would do it. Late, we would do it. Had to spend more money than we wanted to, we'd do it, right? Hiring the best freaking human beings possible.
That's awesome. And I think that in terms of the people that you've obviously hired, but more importantly, what those people do in terms of promoting the Hite brand as well and creating Hite as this incredible workplace. And obviously, I've been there, it's literally like the Google of Nicaragua. And, there's so many amazing things that more so the culture behind it all is what really not just recruits people, but keeps people around when there obviously are other opportunities out there. And I think it's it's kind of the thing is everybody talks about culture and they can say it all they want of, hey, we have this culture, but if it's not being lived down from the top, down, it might as well not be non-existent. So I think that,
I think there's a mindset there even of owners, right? Like a lot of times we think if you're going to build a bigger company, a lot of team members, very little of that organization is going to be due to you. You may have the original idea, you may build the system out, but beyond that, they're going to be my team is what is going to pay for my kids' college. My team is what's going to pay for whatever money I give my kids whenever I pass away. My team is going to pay for every freaking vacation. You think I'm pushing buttons? Heck no. You think I'm doing QA? Heck no. You think I'm training? There is nothing on there that I'm doing, right? And so as you scale and grow, your job as the owner, it's very big picture, very dream worthy, very and so these guys are everything. And when you really believe that, when you really believe that dang, I owe everything to this team, to Adam, to whatever, now it allows now paying them more than maybe you make. Yeah, that makes sense. Or treating them better than when you would treat, or gifting them, or helping pay for their kids' education, or whatever you can do for them is dude, they are freaking right. And so I think switching that mindset with team is so critical. And that's, thank God we have a lot of leaders at Hite that think that way and that really try to do everything they can for our team members. Man. It's crazy.
No, it's amazing to see. And, obviously I've taken some things that I've seen from 1,000-foot view and try to implement them into my own franchise and own business because I see the success of what that brings. Talking about kind of the next step as far as the process goes. So we kind of touched on your journey a little bit ago, but kind of talk about, specifically, I would like to kind of dig into your transition from where Hite was prior to the franchise model, what your thought process was around there. Obviously it's tied to the commitment, but talk about that journey specifically. Cause I think It's at the forefront of digital marketing, and it's a model that obviously is new. And so I would love to kind of hear your thought process. Obviously, I know it a little bit, but educate the audience on that.
This was an interesting dynamic change for us. So just to give you some context, Hite originally was a white label company. We did white label for tons of people throughout the US. I think when we stopped doing white label, I think we were right at 100, maybe a little less than 100 white label partners. And again, we were on track to be in the top 1,000 fastest growing companies. It was successful. It was like all these things. But what we found was unalignment. And oh, by the way, a franchise model, I mean, it's an extension. I mean, right? Like if you think about the world and you back up and you look at all these businesses around the world, you'd be surprised at what percentage are either licensing or franchise. You look at real estate. Like, do you know an independent realtor? No, they all work with some type of either group or they're licensing or something. You look at even dentists now are starting to get taken over by these big conglomerates. You look at auto, you look at insurance, you look at restaurants, you look at food in general, right? Walmart, Sam's Choice, you think they make their own tomatoes? Like, no, they're buying that junk from somewhere else and licensing it to use their own brand, right? And so what we did was when we looked at this, we found that our white label system, we were not able to connect with our partners, right? And so what we found was for an agency to scale and grow, they really had 4 pillars of growth. They had to have great sales, right? Great sales or prospecting systems. They had to have great operations. They had to have great service, and they had to have what was the last one? Business fortitude was the last one, right? Like just when do I hire? When do I fire? Who should I go with? Like the mentality, the mindfulness of a CEO. And here's the thing is every business has these 4 pillars, right? In your business, you're in real estate investment. Okay. You got finding deals. You got the operations once you buy the deal. You've got the business fortitude to go, what deal should I buy? Right. And here's the deal. All of these things, as you grow and scale and you find different leaders in different segments, they have to all be fully immersed. And as a white label partner, we were just the fulfillment. So we had no control, input, ideas, thoughts on their sales process or on their business mindfulness or on their operations. We only had to do with the fulfillment, right? And so in a franchise model, it allows us to be more involved across the board. So it's not just like do whatever sales you want. Ideally, we're helping with those sales systems and tools, operations, even business strategy, right? I would say our weakest thing, and you know this as well, Adam, on the franchise model, our weakest point as a community is the sales process, right? We really our franchisees are in charge and fully devoted to that, but we're trying to figure out how can we do more. In terms of a franchise model, though, it acts just like your business. Once you start having leaders that are making independent decisions on your fulfillment or on your operations, on your system, the more they're aligned, the easier it is to overcome whatever obstacle comes your way, because there will be obstacles. Again, business sucks. It's complex. It's ambiguous. It's VUCA, Adam, as you are aware of.
No, absolutely. And I think that, obviously you mentioned multiple times is obviously it's like the whole piece together. It's not just one aspect. It's not just one piece of the pie. You have to have all of those different things. And obviously, like as a franchisee myself, I obviously know that I really had, particularly before I came over to Hite, like I was pretty decent at the sales process, but that was about it. Everything else is like chaotic, and having that back end like piece to hold everything together is more important, not only for me, but for my clients as well. So I absolutely can obviously attest to that myself. Talking about like the fermentation and conditioning process of your entrepreneurial journey, what is the biggest lesson that you have particularly learned that you would share with someone that's an entrepreneur looking to save them years worth of mistakes?
I was thinking about this question. You shot this one over to me. And I've been thinking about this because, again, I made this statement the other day. Business is hard. It's tough, at least for me anyways, like it's tough. And as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we care about our people. We care about the money, right? We care about our own personal lives, our families and our kids. We care about, and the reality is that a lot of times all of these things the solution for each one of these are different. The solution to take care of my family is probably different than what's the most profitable. And it's probably different than how do I make the happiest team, right? And so when we talk about business, and you and I are familiar with the term VUCA, right? Business is volatile, it's ambiguous, it's uncertain. And what was the last one? It's chaotic, it's complex, right? This will always happen. So as an entrepreneur, one of the things that I'm learning more and more and more, and it's still difficult for me, is to be okay with that complexity. Like I can't solve that. I can't manage it. I can't make it where, okay, business is going to be perfect. We found the perfect system and there's not going to be any obstacles whatsoever, right? Business is chaotic. And so how do we as individuals manage that? And then a compound of this is understanding that as the business grows and develops, there are certain things, a lot of things, camera just moved. There's a lot of things that will stay consistent. Like normally when you think about a business scaling, right, it's kind of boring. Like think of the biggest businesses you know in the world, McDonald's. How often do they change their menu? Never. Like it's the same freaking product. Tesla, how often do they change their cars? Ford, like there's really no big differences, right? Like, and so I know a lot of us like, what got me here isn't going to get me to the next spot. Like, yeah, there are definitely things, but there's also things that create consistencies. Yet at the same time, there's also things we have to develop. I'll give an example. At Hite, I'm a safe guy. I don't have debt. I'm weird. I'm always trying to protect my bottom line, and especially my jobs at Hite. And so for the longest time, what we would do when we did our financial budgets for the quarter or for the year is that we would say, okay, Adam, we've been growing at 5%. And so what I would do is like, but let's be safe. I don't want to hire too many people. I don't want to let's be safe. So let's plan for 3%, right? Because I don't want to overspend. My risk was overspending. My risk was not saving enough. My risk was da-da-da. And one day it clicked on me and I was like, crap. Okay. We're thinking we're going to grow at 5, but we're not doing too much. Like we're going to plan for 3, right? So we think we'll hit 5. Let's plan for 3 just in case. When what was happening was I wasn't hiring enough because it was 8, right? And so in the beginning of my company, the risk I had was the profitability, right? The risk I had was overspending. The risk I had, but eventually it became not about spending too much. It became actually about my people, right? Now my problem is I don't have enough people. The problem is I'm overworking my people. The problem is I have to, whatever the case may be. So now what we do is we think we're going to hit 5%. Let's prepare for 8. Right. So where before the perfect deal was we think we're going to get 5. Let's prepare for 3. That's the worst case scenario. We underdo. Now we got to overdo. And so it was a perfect aha moment of what an idiot. Like, that's so simple. Why didn't I think about this? Right. And so understanding as leaders, right, when to push forward, when to change, when to not change, right, is so critical. And this is where, we're constantly seekers of truth, of information. I mean, me, Adam, I'm a hard head sometime, right? But even myself, how do we constantly try to be, we want to be seekers of real knowledge, of real data, of real things, and we can make better decisions, based on that stuff as we grow and scale.
Yeah, no, I think that the example that you just gave, obviously with the 3 to 5 or the 5 to 8, I think that that's the scarcity mindset that a lot of us as business owners think, and kind of the safe to fail experiments that we talk about. What's the worst thing that can happen? Instead of thinking about what's the worst thing that could possibly happen, let's think about what the best thing could possibly happen. Okay, we have maybe too many qualified employees where we can then grow and scale into that. So reverse engineering that, I think, is a great piece of advice that, I know I certainly have had to learn that the hard way over the years. Talking about, kind of the last piece of this entrepreneur process as far as distribution. So taking, for example, the beer to the market and selling it, what's next? Obviously, I know you have a ton of stuff going on this year with the book, the commitment summit, all that good stuff. So kind of give people an idea of what is to come and what those things entail.
So I think for us, it really, in a franchise model, there's good and bad, right? The good thing is that you're really splitting the work ethic, right? Our franchisees they're honing into the sales and the service side, and we take care of the fulfillment. We're really splitting that. But the other thing is you are fully dependent on each other. And so when it comes to the book, when it comes to the event, really it's how do we increase our franchisees as much as humanly possible. And this is difficult because it's not like, I mean, you know this, every franchisee wants something a little different or a little opposite, or, hey, we should be growing faster. Hey, we should be growing less, or hey, we should. And so really trying to diffuse that to be able to make the best decisions possible. What I see is that I truly believe over the next 4 years, we will become the biggest brand in marketing. I think it'll get to a point where it's kind of like Apple. You can buy an Apple from the Apple store, or you could go buy one from Best Buy. But either way, you probably want a Mac computer, right? And so I believe that we can get to a point where we are the pinnacle of Google, Facebook, marketing, branding, so on and so forth. And that's going to be the only way to do that is through continuing to bring on amazing partners. Franchisees is the legal term, but really they're partners. And trying to empower them as much as possible. And it's a family. We fight, and Adam and I have fought probably before. And we fight, we get pissed off, we get angry, but we're in this together. And so how do we overcome and push forward and continue to make it happen?
No, that's awesome. Well, I certainly appreciate, kind of your insight on a variety of different topics today. Kind of finishing up here, any last pieces of advice that you have for an entrepreneur listening to this show, or just anyone that's listening to this show that you haven't shared so far?
One unique thing, I've heard a couple of people talk about this, but I don't think it's enough. My wife is very involved in the business. You've met my wife, Adam. And for me, even if your wife is not an entrepreneur, the more she can get involved, the better. I'll give you a very simple example. A lot of the guys listening to this podcast are probably going to be sales guys, or they're the owners making sales. Go sell your product to your wife, because your wife is probably exactly what your clients are going to be, right? Like if you're selling roofs, for example, your customer is the single mom at home trying to figure out what the junk is going on, and your wife is probably similar, right? And so if you know and you like, hey, babe, I want to pitch you my roof, or I want to pitch you this new technology, I want to pitch you whatever. See how she responds. See what questions she asks. See how lost she is, right? That's a very, very simple example of using your spouse. The other thing is dude, your wife knows you inside and out. She stopped me from hiring people because she's like, bro, you guys are both dreamers. Nothing is ever going to happen. Or man, their personality is just going to mess with you. They know you, the real you inside and out, and can protect you and save you. Who knows how much money my wife has saved us or made us. So.
No, that's awesome. I love that you obviously tied that in, because your family obviously is such a big part for everything that you do and everything that you have done. And obviously Karen is very involved in the business, which is awesome. And yeah, I remember you telling me that shortly after, as we were kind of talking about how we sell and things like that. If you can go and sell it to your wife, you can sell it elsewhere. And that's a really interesting dynamic. But yeah, JC, I know you're super busy. I really appreciate you just taking some time out of your day to hop on this episode. It really means a lot. And tell people where they can find you, whether on social, website, things like that.
Almost, I think, any platform. I know the team even has me on TikTok. So JC Hite, there shouldn't be too many that pop up. I should be number one. Hit me up on Facebook. My website is jchite.me. Check me out there as well. Pretty much anywhere you want to go, you can find me.
Awesome. We'll have that all in the show notes. And again, everybody, I want to thank you for tuning into this podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, download, and share our content. Leaving a 5-star review goes a long way. And thank you again to Half Coast Studios. If you're here in St. Louis and looking to start your own podcast or grow your current podcast, then you seriously need to come check out all that they have going on. We'll see you next week. And remember, entrepreneurs are not born, they are brewed.
I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm born to prove. Thank you for listening to Entrepreneur Podcast with your host, Adam McChesney.